Hello, class. This is the HLP presentation presented by Shanta, Shelton, and Tamishia Harris.
Hello, everyone. The first thing we will do is we will clarify the relationship between HLPs and EBPs, the strategies. Um, EBPs are evidence-based practices which have been researched so that researchers have looked into them. They found that these things work in classrooms generally, and they're just practices that have been gone over and over again. High-level practices are used in collaboration to implement the EBPs. So an example of it would be to review and teach and reteach something, which teachers do a lot of times. Let's just say if you're trying to show the class how to line up, you may go and review it and reteach it again and again. That is your high-level practice. But the evidence-based practice behind that is that reviewing and reteaching it, which is based on I believe it is high level practice number 7. That is the one that will show the children how to do it correctly. And that's your high level practice. So they work in collaboration with one another. The practices, the evidence-based practices just have been researched out. And the high level practices is something that we use to sort of back that up or to support the evidence-based practices. Okay, the first one is the high level practice number 7, establish a consistent, organized, and respectable learning environment. In the video, one of the things I noticed was that it said to provide students with clear directions, procedures, and expectations to support their learning behavioral success. And I found in my own teaching or my own working in a classroom that when our children have a clear direction of where we're going and they know what to do, really a routine. I'm very big on routines. It helps support our kids, their learning behavioral success because they know what they're going to do, they're going to be doing next, and that's important for them. Also, a consistent, organized, and respectful classroom help build strong relationships with students. When students know what to expect, they know what the teacher is looking for. That helps build a rapport, and it also helps build a respectable classroom where the kids and the teacher have a very strong relationship. The next point is to have clear and ongoing information about what is expected. For our population, our special needs kids, they need to know what is expected of them so that they can try to reach those goals. Whether it be in reading or going to PE, they just need to know what is expected of them. The next one is to teach classroom rules and expectations repeatedly. You have to go over and over and over and over and over and over again until it's ingrained. And a lot of our children can just come in and they know what to do. They know what's first. They're looking for a schedule and they know how to follow it. Also, give students multiple opportunities to respond on task. So if it's their turn, let's just say to put the chairs up, give them opportunities to get it right, to do it the way that they need to do it so they can feel accomplished. Um, Next, let students know when they are meeting the expectations by genuinely acknowledging appropriate behavior. You know, a lot of times we get in the habit of just saying good job, but sometimes the kids can feel when we are, our students can feel when we are genuinely giving them acknowledgement of what they've done by meeting the expectations that we have for them.
And
Okay.
Shantae, just to piggyback on that last one, there's actually a website that you can go to, and it's 101 ways to praise. So it takes out the, oh, good job or great job, and it gives you a
Yes,
ton of other sincere praises for your students. So I think that's a great point.
absolutely. I agree totally. Okay. And then I went over high level practices number 8 and 22, which they coincide with one another, is to provide a positive and constructive feedback to our students' learning and behavior. So feedback increases our student motivation. A lot of times, if you notice with our kids, when we tell them that they're getting it right or they're doing something specifically, it makes them want to work harder and get more of the job done. It's really like a self-gratification thing for them. Also, feedback should be timely, specific, and genuine. It should be more than just yes and good job, which we just stressed. And a lot of times we just get in the habit of saying good job or yes. But sometimes you need to be more specific about, I always use the example, what they did. I like the way you colored that picture. I like the colors that you use. Be very specific when you're talking to the students. Um, the next one, different students require specific types of feedback depending on their individual situation. Some of our kids need more praise. They need more. They require it. So we have to learn the difference between who can take a lot and who just needs a little. That's our job. Um, the next thing that I saw in the video was effective feedback should be goal-oriented and constructive. It should always come from a positive perspective. If something is wrong, don't be so quick to just say, no, you got it wrong. You may want to look at it and look at the paper or maybe a math problem, and you may want to say, you know what, maybe if you try it this way, or let's look at it, and let's see if we can get it done another way. Instead of just saying, no, you got it wrong, find a way to come from a positive perspective. And finally, when giving feedback, remember, allow room for mistakes because that is a key part to the learning process of our students. Give them room, wiggle room to not always be right. We're not always right, so don't expect our students to be always right. And that's HLP 8 and 22. Over to you, Ms. Harris.
Why, thank you. I must say that allowing room for the students to make mistakes was not one of my strong points until I actually sat down and digested that. So I'm glad that you said that one.
Yes.
Okay, so my first one is HLP number 18, using strategies to promote active student engagement. And the first bullet point says behavioral engagement is raising their hands, watching the teacher, and answering the questions. I really liked in the video when the teacher kept telling the student, watch my nose, watch my nose. And instead of her saying, look at me, she gave a different command so that the student had to actually look at her nose. And that gave him that eye contact. And it gave her the eye contact, and she knew he was actually paying attention. Effective engagement, positive feelings about the learning process, such as motivation to learn, and is reflected in the students taking responsibility for their own learning, which actually piggybacks on the one that Ms. Shelton just explained. Once the students feel positive and have that positive confidence, they feel like they can accomplish anything. So they have that self-motivation and they push themselves to learn more. And I've seen the students, once you give them that positive feedback, even if it is a little, if there's a negative tone or it's the way you present it, the students will definitely take that feedback and run with it. The last thing are the 3 components to support learning. A positive student-teacher relationship. If the student doesn't respect the teacher, there will be nothing learned and nothing gained throughout the whole year. You're going to find yourself combating for the attention and for the outcome that you're looking for. Varying strategies to ensure student engagement. Let's just say with calendar. I mean, we always keep a routine, but let's make it fun. I know a lot of times we put up different stickers, different pictures to show the students the different things that are going on in the month. So let's just try to change our strategies to make sure that the students are actually engaged and paying attention. And actively monitoring for engagement and providing feedback. Again, it all comes back to the feedback. The student will never know if they need to change, correct, or keep doing something if we don't give them that feedback in a timely manner. And our next slide, which was not necessarily in order, was HLP 13, make adaptations. Students with disabilities who use accommodations are held to the same high expectations as their peers. They may need to make adaptations, but they're still held to that same standard. Accommodation categories include the purpose, how you present the information to the student. For example, instead of having them read a book, you can give them a recorded book. Or instead of giving them written instructions, you can give them verbal directions, because students may not read on the same level and they may not perceive the information the same. So if you give them those verbal directions, they will definitely understand and they can pick up on those context clues as well. Your response, how the student responds to you. Do they have to use the device? Do they have to use speak to text, or do they need to use autocorrect when it comes to spelling? We know some students, and because we don't teach it as often as we used to, spelling is a biggie. So if they need to use autocorrect, definitely that's a tool that's in their tool belt and they can feel empowered. Um, Settings change, physical environment. Change the settings, change their physical environment. Some students can't concentrate in a class full of their peers. They need it to be completely quiet, or they may need background noise that may affect the other students. So just changing the room, they're taking the same test, just in a different location. And last but certainly not least, timing and scheduling. Some students may need extended time for tests or assignments. That's not something that their peers would necessarily know, but that's something that you and that student know and have that agreement. Because again, every student learns different, and that's where it comes down to really knowing your student. And then the last thing is the difference between an adaptation and a modification. Modification changes the learning objectives in the assessments or the assignments. Again, every student is on a different level. Some students may be higher than others, but this is when you would need to know your students and know that if you need to make a modification, for example, their IEP, or if they're on a 504C, that's where this would come in. I hope you have enjoyed our presentation. This is the end. So happy teaching. And Miss Shelton, did you have anything else for our friends?
Happy teaching.